the Goblin Squad.
To the Goblin Squad.
It's Brooke
and Sarah.
Hello.
It's been rough.
We're struggling.
It's going to be okay.
It is going to be okay. The couch just pushes forward.
We're still getting used to being on the same seat. The red room is so small.
I spilled a cider all over my iPad and the carpet. And
the carpet's fine.
Power strip.
I'm mostly worried about the iPad.
And my notes.
They were really pretty, and now
they're on fancy paper.
Now they're damp.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay.
It'll be great. It'll be great. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We made it.
We did.
It was a struggle to get here today.
It was. I was late.
Don't worry. She's feeling very guilty.
I don't like being late.
And I'm always late. So to me,
one
I'm
in
like,
the bucket for me.
Now I'll be early for everything for a week.
Just to rub it in.
And be like, remember when you were late? One time. Literally one time. In the entire duration of us making this podcast, you were late.
Okay, that's not that bad.
No, there were times where I'm like, I have no notes. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's going to be okay.
It is going to be okay.
Don't ever think this creation process is simple.
No.
You just do your best. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Okay? Just get her done. It's going to be okay.
It will be.
It's going to be okay.
There's still half of it left. It's
Hang on. I was wondering if I needed to get your refill before we started.
Good. I think I'm good. Hello. So we kind of talked about what we wanted to do for this ep.
Yes.
We went back and forth a little bit. And we were kind of like, well, we could just pick a bunch of random things and then the world is your oyster.
Yeah. And then I was like, oysters are gross.
They are. And weird. And a specific acquired taste. Much like the Goblin Squad.
Much like us.
So we are lovingly calling this the Oyster app.
Yep. And also, I was like, okay, if Brooke's coming at me with oysters, I'll come at Brooke with pearls. Because oysters make pearls. When something is irritating, they cover it with goo, and then they transform it into a beautiful thing. And so I wrote down pearls. Things that were annoying.
I just realized something.
Oh, God. What is it? What is the thing?
We fully misinterpreted what this episode was about.
No. I don't think we did.
Okay.
No, I think you think something else.
Okay.
No, don't worry. We're good.
Okay.
We're fine.
Okay.
No. I know what it's about.
Let's see.
Yeah.
You hit me with one.
No, because I know what you were doing.
Okay.
And then I was like, I'm not doing that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because I couldn't come up with any.
Oh,
And
any
so
randoms?
I was like, we'll play off each other here.
Okay.
And then I'm going to throw in some pearls
Okay.
on top of the weird
Just
oysters.
Metaphorical.
Yeah, metaphorical pearls.
Love that.
She panicked.
Cut it
Did
out.
you see the panic?
Fully. I was like, oh no. I thought we were doing a thing.
No.
No,
your thing is right.
weekend has been...
It's been weird.
Mine are wet and they're stuck
No,
together.
mine are really far away. And I got, excuse me. I'm gonna use this.
It's chaos. This weekend... This week...
Oh, God. I got him.
Shout out to the audio listeners.
You guys are the best.
And your notes are on my old notes that I left you.
This is last week. So again, don't tell yourself you're failing.
No, look at us.
Or don't.
The pause between both of us.
It was the fear.
Genuine fear.
And also the realization that I ran down the world's steepest stairs to get paper towels, which are over there in the corner. There they are.
Oh,
those are
there was
not the
more.
ones I brought.
There were more in
These are the ones I brought.
Now they're just in a heap on the floor.
We might need to cut all of this.
So basically what I had envisioned
Yep.
was Who's like, the world's your oyster. Like picking random things to talk about.
Yep.
Okay. I had interpreted you saying that as you thought I was literally going to research oysters and talk about oysters.
No.
That's why I panicked.
Metaphorical.
Metaphorical pearls.
And oysters.
Okay.
Everything is metaphor. Why would we spend an entire episode talking about real oysters?
I saw the word pearl on your scene, and I was like, oh no, she thinks I've researched oysters. I was panicking.
Why? Why would our podcast be about real mollusks?
And then I was like, how much information is there on pearls? I was so confused.
Sometimes, good listeners, it doesn't come together the way you envisioned.
But
we're
still, we still have our butts on this couch, and we're still
doing
it.
We're doing it. We're doing a thing.
We've been busy little goblins.
It's been a week.
It's kind of been a week.
I feel like we've been saying that every episode.
Maybe that's just what life is.
I think
it's hard.
It's hard.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's okay.
So,
hit me with an oyster.
with an oyster?
Yeah.
Well,
Let's
do you
just
want
do
a
this.
short one? Because my first one...
Is damp. Nigh unreadable. Is what
I can read it. Try it. It's fine. It's fine.
Just giving you shit.
So I wrote a little a blurb.
Yes.
The Goblin Squad is about finding and celebrating the weird in everyday life.
It's true.
We're picking a few of our own weird topics to bring and discuss in the Red Room.
Here we are.
So my first one,
Yeah.
because you've witnessed this obsession of mine as we have gotten into D&D. It's her
Pearl number one.
number 1. It's an oyster and a pearl.
It is. It's both.
And it's slippery.
Because it's on the ground. Let me just. My socks are slippery too. Oh no.
So this works out perfectly.
That's great.
Literally.
See all that fear that we weren't on the same page. We're always on the same page.
We're on the same.
We're always on the same page.
Fucking panic.
She did. The look of
I was
abject
like, I
fear.
did not look up anything about oysters.
Now we're gonna have to leave it in for context because the audio
Chop it
listeners
up
are
and
like,
make it better.
the audio listeners are like, what the hell has happened to them?
They've gone mad.
They finally cooked. That's it.
Yeah. Unlike an oyster. Okay, I'll stop. So D&D. So I had never. We can do back to our
Episode 23,
live at the lock. Heyo.
Shout out.
Shout out Matt and Aaron. A little bit.
Yep.
I had never at that point played, didn't know much about the game, and since then, I have become obsessed.
She has spiraled into a deep, deep Dungeons and Dragons obsession.
I hit 500 hours on Baldur's Gate 3.
That's a lot of hours.
It's a lot of saves.
That's a lot of saves. That's a lot of saves.
And especially for a newbie, because I started with playing Baldur's Gate, and then I went into like a first gameplay with a few friends, but I was still used to the video game format of it, where I'm like, someone has to give me the options of what to say. I don't know what to do. The things. So I started watching a little program called Dungeons and Drag Queens.
Yep.
Dimension 20, dropout.tv.
Fantastic.
Not sponsored. Wish it was. It's like $6 a month.
So good.
It's amazing. Shout out Brennan Lee Mulligan, who I've also become very unhealthily obsessed with.
I feel like it's justified.
It is. He's just...
So
and
good.
Abria Iyengar, who is one of their other DMs, who is just magical and just amazing. And you're just watching full campaigns, like anywhere from 4 to 10 episodes, similar to like Critical Role format. But I like their shows, but I also don't have time to backlog 84-hour episodes of a campaign. So this is a little in shorter, more digestible chunks, which maybe it's my attention span. But
No, I think it's more about like spend.
My spend.
I think it's more about like not wanting to, like if you want to see gameplay and understand the context quickly, Dimension 20 is probably a better starter
Yes.
set, because Critical Role is amazing. But also when you watch Critical Role, almost everyone that essentially performs in Critical Role, because now it's moved from just like people who know each other playing D&D to a whole, a whole thing. It has its own series on Amazon. Like, it's a whole, like, Vox Machina is its own thing.
Yeah.
So, also the people that play are voice actors.
Yeah.
So they are professionals versus those of us who are like, I say that I am nervous and I want to drink the potion, and you just panic.
My character ran away.
Yeah. I mean, me. It's me. That was me on my first ever interaction.
Oh, yes. And, shout out Critical Role people.
Amazing.
Matt Mercer.
Matt Mercer.
But very, the depth of the lore that I feel like you have to understand to be able to digest a lot of Critical Role playthroughs. I feel like it's not novice level.
I don't think it's entry level.
No. Whereas you can watch Dungeons and Drag Queens, which it was season 18 of Dimension 20. You got Brennan as the DM, Bob the Drag Queen, Alaska Thunderfuck, Jujubee, and Monet Exchange. The little bit, 4 drag queen adventures, death drop into the underworld.
Ooh.
And it is, I know you've watched a little bit.
I have watched
a
little bit, yeah.
You will laugh, you'll cry. It's educational. It's the set building and everything. It's just so good.
Yeah, it's really good. And it's very helpful if you're new to Dungeons and Dragons and you feel super awkward or like really nervous about it, because you're witnessing people getting into their characters and like how to build their backstory and how to interact. And then when you see people playing the game and that like how it works, where I think a lot of people when they first get into it now are like, I have to just be my character, like I have to show up and be my character. And it's like, no, it's not that serious. You don't have to like have every detail of your entire character's life history planned out. You don't need to, like you can just go and do it and it's fine.
I saw a good one because I think Matt Mercer from Critical Role and then Brennan, I think they have a podcast. I forgot what it's called. But they talk about the backstories people will do for their characters. And it's like, there's real life people on Earth that don't have 85 pages of a backstory.
Yeah. Like, human beings.
You don't got to do all that.
No. And also, like, it's really hard, like, I think the urge on your first character to make the backstory hella tragic is, so, like... Me too. Everyone's characters in their campaign is first, like, you're like, I gotta make it real compelling. So, like, their family's dead. Everyone's dead. Their village burned.
I was kidnapped.
I was found
My
floating.
parents are dead.
I was found floating in a boat. Literally me.
Because you have recently joined.
Yes, which is why it's my pearl.
Oh.
Yeah, because in an oyster, when something that's irritating to the oyster enters, this is actual oyster facts here, enters the oyster or mollusk, it encases it in mucus.
Nice.
Which is how a pearl is made.
Yeah.
And so it turns something horribly stressful to the mollusk into something beautiful.
Like a pearl.
Which is how Dungeons and Dragons was for me. So I was supposed to join this campaign originally. And I was like prepping to do it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And we had done episode 23 live at the Lock, and we had talked to, shout out Madison, who is our DM, who is amazing, about how like we should do this. This would be great. Blah, 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 blah. And it got closer and closer and closer. And the stress that I felt.
You got the scaries.
I did. Because I used to play tabletop RPGs when I was a teenager. And without going into the nitty gritty, like deep, dark lore of my life, it was not a good scene for me back in the day. And so I tied all of that really negative, like life experience that was going on to the game and had a full-blown panic attack in a furniture store.
Oh, yeah! I forgot that part of
we were
it.
supposed to get together and play, and the Commodore's like, let's run to the furniture store. I was like, yeah, that's great. We have 6 hours before I gotta go play. And I'm just in there on like a a sofa like, and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't think so, man.
Something's wrong.
Something's not right." And he
I'm
was
in
like,
danger.
He was like, "Are you having a panic attack?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And so here's me messaging my friend group like, "I'm not gonna go. I'm so sorry. I'm freaking the fuck out." And I was.
We all got it, dude. You know, we all have things like that. Though,
Yeah,
that
so
it's just
like,
our mind puts them in a different compartment.
Yeah, and your brain, it's not rational always. You know why? You know, because it's the whole point is your brain feels like it's in danger, and you have no control over your autonomic response to danger. Yeah. So my brain was like, "This is so scary," and then like fully freaked out. So it might sound on the surface like that's so insane that you would have that response, and I was like, I'm having this response. So fast forward to, it's been a while. I mean, since you guys first, like beginning of the summer or even earlier that you started that.
Yeah.
And so they just like started their campaign and they were like, "Peace out. We'll take you out of the group chat so you don't feel like you're like being a bummer."
Bombarded with stuff all the time. Because Madison's partner, Scott, he was originally going to DM, and then he ended up having a migraine that day. So that's how Madison DM'd, and she had never done it before.
And now she's our DM.
She's killing it. And Scott just joined the game.
I know, and it's great.
He's an owl. Yeah. Owlin.
And he's very confused because uncontacted owlin group in the Great Forest. They don't know about stuff.
He's from past the mountain
They
range.
don't know. They've never seen glass. They're birds.
What's that?
Yeah.
No.
So I was like, I need to do this. This sounds hella fun. Like, I need to get over this and like reclaim my love for this, right? Because I love tabletop RPGs and I love all the lore and I love the races and the characters and all the things. So how do you go from being horrifically terrified to do a thing to I'm going to do the thing?
Yeah.
Which this can apply in all life scenarios. I'm married to a therapist.
The Commodore.
The Commodore. And
also known as the director.
Yeah, right. So, you know, there's moral and ethical guidelines when you are, you know, in a relationship with a therapist. They don't therapize you, right? Like that's what your therapist is for. They don't. But he comes with a particular set of skills, much like Liam Neeson, but less murdery.
Less murdery skills.
And he was like, "Hey, I have this idea. Are you interested in order to like help you have less of a traumatic response? Do you want to try some accelerated resolution therapy?" And I was like, "What is that?" And so he explained it to me. And it's just a really cool way to stimulate both sides of your brain while talking through a scenario. And it gives you these set of tools to essentially like turn down the volume on your fear response. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's try it." And he was like, "There's no ethical issues here. We're married. It's fine. You can, this is not, I'm not like, you know." And I was like, "No, I want to do this."
Yeah.
So we did it. And I would strongly recommend, you know, if you have like something that stresses you out in your life and you are struggling to work through it and you're like, I need a new modality to process this, ART. Art. Mm-hmm. It's the way I would give it a try because right?
Sorry.
He applies
from
in
the
all
high
situations.
desert.
He's back.
He's back.
So we did it, and through the process of like one session of ART, I very quickly realized it just was the circumstances surrounding the time of life in which I was playing the last because I have attempted to play Dungeons and Dragons since those negative life events, which is when I discovered the panic, right? So like, I don't even know how many years ago. This was probably 10 years ago where I tried again to play Dungeons and Dragons and fully couldn't do it and had to like abandon a functional campaign. And I felt terrible because I was like walking out on people who had put a lot of work into it. And I was just like, I actually can't do this.
Yeah, like it's too much. No.
And some of the participants were very understanding, and one of the participants was not very understanding. So it was just like, oh my God, I have ruined this whole so it's just layers and layers of stress.
And then that just adds to it more.
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
just stacking.
Yeah. And so at this point, you're like, this game that's supposed to bring great joy has now become a weird, complicated freaking thing. And so we did this session of ART, and I was like, oh, okay. The game has nothing to do with this. It just occurred at the same time as this very difficult life event.
That's just what you put on the cover of the book.
Yep. And so it's like, it's much easier to look at tabletop RPGs are so scary versus like, life was fucked.
Right.
So after working through that, I was like, oh, I can play this game. And it was literally one session. And I'm not going to pretend that it was an easy session. Okay? I mean, the weeping. The silent weeping. So don't ever beat yourself up for this kind of shit. Like,
no.
If you have stress or you're like nervous or whatever, like, you might not be in the situation that I'm in, but you might be like, I want to play Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm so nervous about like the social aspect of it and showing up and like being a character and performing in this group of people.
Because it's basically gamified improv.
It is.
That is what it is.
Yeah, it's gamified improv with people that you know.
And who could have varying levels of knowledge. And, you know.
And so you're just learning as you go in a lot of cases, because some people might be very experienced or like have only played online and not in real life, or like people who have done 13 million campaigns and this is old hat. And like you might go in and when the DM is like, hey, roll for this, you're like, I don't know what that is.
Which dice do I use?
Yeah, I don't have any idea what I'm doing, and never be embarrassed by that, because the people that love the game and are the most fun to play with are the most understanding in my experience. So don't...
And willing to teach.
Yeah, don't feel bad. And if they treat you like shit, don't play with them.
You need a new campaign.
Yeah, walk out and be like, not doing that.
Bye. My character is dead.
Yep. That was it. I got
fell down a hole.
eaten by a dragon. Attacked by gnolls. Got it.
Yeah.
So we played. Like, you helped me make my character. So again, like, don't...
I could see you start getting into it, and it was just like...
Yeah.
Like a proud mom.
Right? And so, like, I don't want anyone to think, like, I did one ART session and then it was like, oop, I'm better. Like, that's not
healed.
It's not how it works. But so then, like, stepwise motion, I was like, hey, Brooke, I want to play this game, but I'm scared about making my character. Will you help me make my character? And she was like, of course.
I may or may not have purchased like 5 D&D books.
So many books. And a big, beautiful stack of books.
I am prepared for this task.
So we did it, and we made the character, and there was a moment we were talking about my character's potential backstory. I was like, but what if she this? And you were like, and you could see it.
I could see the light come on, and it went from like something you were kind of like...
Because I still felt kind of sick to my stomach when we were starting.
But then when we got to that point, and you were like... But then what if this happened? And I saw like the joy and all the creativity just start to like boo, 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 boo,
and it came back
surface.
And I was like, okay, we found it. We found the spark. And so I worked on it, and then it was game day. And I was like, I can still do this. Like, you can do this. And I didn't have the same well of panic, but I was nervous. Yeah. Right? And so we happened to be playing at Brooke's house that time. And so the DM and I were talking about, like, how are you joining? Like, what are we going to... Because they were on the high seas. You know, they were on a boat. And I'm like, oh, find me in this boat.
With an undead crew.
Right? Those skeletons. They try their best.
They can't talk.
They just make sounds.
I've tried so many times.
She has.
They just go, ah.
Yeah, they just can't. Yeah. And my character's like, where am I? Who are they? So I made it through a session.
You did. And you did so well.
Yeah. Thank you.
I love too how the dice take over and just help tell the story.
Oh my God.
Sometimes, because there were so many things that just happened in such a way where it's like, of course that's what would happen.
And my character, and so instead of taking just like the standard numbers for my character, who is a Furbolg druid, Circle of the Moon druid, shout out. Yeah. I was like, did you guys roll? And Brooke said, yeah, we rolled. So I'm like, I'm rolling. I'm not taking the standard numbers. The way I rolled 4 11s.
And 2
12s. Straight middle of the road. Just like, oh, crap. Like, all right. Then rolling for my character flaws. She is horribly, horribly awkward. Like,
it makes sense.
To the point of, like, non-functionality. and overcomplicates every scenario. Like,
You kept knocking stuff over.
I ran into things. I knocked like 100 potions off a shelf, then panicked. I could have used hidden step and vanished.
You just ran away.
I just ran out of the shop into the street.
You're just a partial giant, like
huge. Yeah, just she's small for a furball, but still way bigger than every other member of the party.
Oh, yeah.
And tried to fight in some fighting pits. Fully got her ass handed to her by a gnome.
And then I came in double for nothing.
You did win our money back.
And then some.
Yeah. I did accidentally throw you across the room when I tripped. My character also tripped, fell through her character across the room, who like tuck and rolled and then was like, ha ha! Like full
I did do a good acrobatics check.
Full superstar. Right out. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because you could have broken bones like that. So it all came together in a beautiful, beautiful campaign. And then I was like, I'm here now. I can do this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can just see the healing from it, too. Because I kept, like, catching your face at certain moments. And you were just like...
I know. I was having a really good time. And I think it was just the whole, like... It was the second I had to do something as my character. I was like... and then I did it. And then I went... And I did it. And it's done. And now everything else is gravy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And since then, the way my algorithm on social media is just all D&D content.
Oh,
and
it
like,
knows.
I'm like, 3 tips if you're nervous playing Dungeons and Dragons. Like, here's 3 things you can do. That awkward silence after the DM sets the scene. And everyone at the table is like, cricket. And you just look at each other. And so I've been watching videos about like, figure out like what needs to be done, like address what needs to be done, address how your character feels, and address like an action that you can take if you can't think of what to do. And I'm like, this is so helpful for people that are new to this game. Also, even if you're like, I don't know if I like Dungeons and Dragons, or like it's not my scene, or you know, that's for nerds. If you think that, why are you listening to this podcast?
Like,
Thing 1. Thing 2.
I mean, we're called the Goblin Squad. Which wasn't necessarily a D&D reference, but it wasn't not a D&D reference.
So, like, Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs are so good for you for a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. Like, socially, they're very good for you. They give you a group of people to hang out with, and they give you a way to be creative and
tell stories
And then the best part is talking about your campaign to other people who aren't in your campaign. So one of my bonus children was up this weekend, and he is also in an active campaign. Shout out to the barbarian. What race is he again? Half orc, I think. Nice. I think he might be. I can't remember. If I got it wrong, I'm so sorry.
That's a scary barbarian.
But apparently he only plays barbarians. Just changes the races. Rage. Yeah, and his barbarian is chaotic evil. And just does heinous things. And he's like, it helps me deal with my stress. And I'm like, that's good. Yeah. But just the way he's like looking through the new player's handbook, like, you can get armor now. And just like the joy, you know, and telling me the whole saga of encountering a goblin camp and how it went awful and like horribly awry and the goblins were flying all over the place. And it was just a whole thing. So
it's so, because it's like a, like I see you moment with certain people. You're you're much more aware, I feel like, of something where I'm like, that's a D&D thing. What are you doing? I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
The way
what's happening in your campaign?
On break at work, I'm talking to like 60-year-old guys who have no idea what Dungeons and Dragons is. They're like, then the gnome got possessed by an evil spirit. I'm like, yeah. Dude, she's on a boat.
We're trying
to find our friend.
Turns out exorcisms are real expensive. Who knew?
But we had that fighting pit money. It's a whole thing.
I mean, I lost it, but she won it back.
Oh, yeah. Because since we all rolled for our abilities.
Her little halfling bard is hella strong.
I'm the strongest of our group.
Shortest and strongest.
211.
Shout out.
But I did get we all got some cool items on our last campaign.
I can't wait to use my cool item.
Oh, I got some rockin' platform boots that make me jump and go
so tall
and make me 2 feet taller. So
which
now
is
I'm a cool
insane
4'11".
I mean, that's really tall. How tall are them platforms?
2 feet. But I can jump in them too. They're over like 2/3 of my body.
That's pretty insane.
And I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah, if you walking around in those now that I'm actually envisioning the height of the platforms, I'm like, oh shit, those are really, really tall.
Well, because we had, Madison had talked about what kind of items we would all want.
Yes.
And I was like, I feel like my character would want to be taller.
Yeah.
Because I get into a lot of situations where my height comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like, I want something.
You did drop me in the water when you guys were trying to get me out of the boat. Like, I was like falling into the water. And
That was Jessica.
a shout out, Miss Jess.
Lenny.
Yeah, she tried to rob me when I was unconscious. Just saying.
You guys have like opposite character
Right?
paths.
We do. But it's all worked out in the end.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's like you need one of each kind of vibe in the group. And
Yeah.
that makes the most dynamic, like, fun party.
and the way
too.
her character has started to like protect my character because my character's so awkward. And her character is like, don't touch her. Like, get away from her. She's doing her best.
She a rogue.
Yeah. And she likes my character. 'Cause
Yeah.
hella awkward. But I got a newly invented item that our DM invented for me with the help of Scott.
yeah.
Shout out. I believe, and I don't have my notes in front of me. I don't have my book that I wrote on my notes. But it's the fangs of utter. Wait. Oh my God, I have to look up the name. It's a cow pun because I'm a furball who kind of looks like a cow. Yeah. Oh, I think it's fangs of utter toxicity.
Yes, utter toxicity. We love a bovine
They're
pun.
invented. So basically, it's a grill that I pop in with little fangs. But the fangs are hot pink.
I just picture you like riffraff. I want to blow up and act like I don't know nobody.
So I can bite, and I get hella poison damage.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's the fun of it where, like, when I had been, again, kind of like you were, like, reading stuff about D&D online and, like, playing with people, and I had watched people play in the past, I was really nervous and stuff, too, about, you know, are people going to think I'm dumb, or, like, I don't know what I'm doing, or if that's not in the book. Like, some people are really, really strict, and
some
really,
people
like,
are hardcore.
to the letter of everything. And how we started it when Scott couldn't DM, we had sat down and took out the board game Clue and did a one-shot where it was just the three of us at that point, and we just did like a murder mystery.
Which is awesome.
And have since kept those characters leveled up, and now we're in like another campaign, and now you've joined it. And it's just like, look at us go.
It's
and
very
do
fun.
this fun, weird thing. Mm-hmm. So that has been one of my favorite oysters and pearls.
And a pearl.
As of late.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on Dimension 20, I had a couple other ones because I've talked about Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Drag queens, excuse me, a lot. But there were a couple other ones that I just wanted to share with you, if I may.
Please do.
Burrow's End.
Is that the cute one where they're all like
Stoats.
little weasels? Yeah.
So it draws inspiration from the book Watership Down.
Which, you ever read Watership Down?
Have
you read it?
Donnie Darko? I haven't.
Oh my God. It seems cute on the surface.
As well as The Secret of Nim.
Okay, these are all very traumatic books with animals.
Oh my
Classics, but the trauma.
And the set design, and because they're able to do
it's elaborate,
everything, but it's like the maps they bring out. One of them is an undead bear that they go inside of and have a battle in, and they take the top off the bear, and it's like, oh my God,
so scary, but also so cool.
It's so good. Highly recommend that one. And then A Court of Fae and Flowers,
which is new to me. Which I mean.
Follows the politics and relationships of 6 archfae, referred to as the Pack of Pixies, as they attend a social event known as the Bloom. And they implement in there, which they do in a couple other campaigns that I've watched, different like mechanics and rule systems. So in there you have like a tracker for reputation throughout it, and then at the beginning of each play you can send like a rumor out or a letter out that will help affect the story and the game.
That's so cool.
And they each have like a chest in front of them, and it tracks their reputation for each new session they do, which comes with new powers or disadvantages.
That's awesome.
Too. And they do that as well in Misfits in Magic, which utilizes the Kids on Brooms system with a home brew of adding an extra D6 when using common fucking sense. When you're you get a common fucking sense die. So it's like you're in a magical world, but if you use common sense,
use
for a
some
problem.
common sense here.
And it's basically 2024 US. Everything exists. Also, Harry Potter world exists, but they do it in such a way where it is kind of like to a certain author,
certain person,
and
who tried to ruin it for us all.
It's the way they approach it and talk about everything throughout it. It's so good, and they have season 2 of that, which is like 3 years later from the first campaign.
Oh, right, because they age up.
Coming out on September 25th. Which is when this episode will drop.
Ha! Okay, there's that.
So check it out. They have a lot of stuff. It's a great place for newbies to get into the D&D world. And they have a bunch of other like improv and stuff shows on there, but
it's really good.
It's really, really good. So,
and it's very helpful. So if you are interested or you're like, I've been listening to these episodes, you talk about role-playing games a lot.
Right.
Just try it. And it might not be for you, but you might stumble into something that you're like, this is so fun.
And you can see with all of their different seasons that they have how different each campaign can be. Because if you're thinking, I'd want to try it, but I'm not super into like high fantasy one, where it's like, you can be a stoat.
You can be, I think that's
by a
the
nuclear
thing.
Power plant.
Yeah, like people don't understand, right? You've mutated. People don't understand that tabletop RPGs have evolved into a huge genre. It's not just D&D. I mean, there's tons of modalities to play.
And you can make them up.
You can.
Because you have the power.
You're in charge. You can do whatever the hell you want, which is awesome. Yeah. And don't let anybody tell you can't, because you can.
You absolutely
It's a game.
And it's meant to be fun and silly and sometimes very emotional.
Oh, man.
Like, even with our campaign, I've literally cried.
And be scared.
Like, in Madison's living room, like, what happened?
The fear of losing a beloved NPC, non-player character.
That is what happened. Almost. Didn't, but almost. And I was like, no. But it's one of those things where you're telling and creating stories all together. And I've kind of been like our partial scribe throughout this whole thing.
Thank God.
I want to, when I have time, write the whole story out and like put it in a little book.
Which would be amazing.
A little picture book for all of us. So amazing. So that'd be so fun. But yeah, high recommend. And
same.
I didn't get into it until my 30s.
And
I had never played before, and I'm obsessed with it. So
I'm almost 40. So
it's not too late to start.
Anytime. There's no age requirements here. No. You're good. Get into it.
And it's like a whole new world has opened up.
Yeah.
Because I feel like so many people who play it, who I know, have played it since they were like an early teenagers. And for now, it's like, I get to discover all this stuff for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have the money to buy things.
Adult money. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which also, can be good and bad.
To be fair, the swag you can buy now is substantially better than the last time I played a tabletop RPG when there was nothing. It did not exist. You could buy dice.
Mancala beads.
Oh, yeah. It was not a thing.
Because I believe you ordered a 3D printed version of your character.
So I did. When it's here, I will show it to you.
Yay!
Because I designed it on Shadow Hero Forge.
So good.
Just to get a visual of my character and like what does she look like, and like I could have drawn it out, or I could have just done a lot of different things. And so I was like, I'm going to use this like character building thing they have on their website just to see what she would look like. And then when I finished the entire build up process, you can save your builds on there so that you don't have to, like, you can make as many versions of it without paying for it as you want. Yep. And I was like, that's super cool. And I took a picture of it, and then I was like, but I want it. And it just I became Gollum immediately. I was like, order. like, click, and bought it immediately. So she's being made.
Because you can get full color ones too.
She's
like, you
full
don't have
color.
to paint them. Or you could like gold embossed ones.
Yeah. She's full color.
Yeah.
And also you can order, like, you can design it and then you can get the plans to 3D print it. So you can pay for that if you have access. Again, shout out to my bonus child who has a 3D printer and is into Warhammer now. And
Warhammer.
my brother, who also, I'm like, in the future, I'm just going to be like, can you 3D print me a mimic for our table so that I can put it on? I will buy you the supplies.
We did run into a couple of those.
You did?
In the hotel, in the game.
I do live in fear of a mimic.
We ran into like 3 in a room.
Oh my God. That's a lot of mimics. Yeah, it did. That's a lot of mimics.
We were not high
gelatinous cubes.
Haven't run into a cube.
Oh God, never. I don't want to.
Could happen before the end.
The 3 I'm afraid of are mimics, gelatinous cubes, and beholders. A beholder, I would probably pee myself and run away.
I love the vibe of a beholder.
I do. Just tentacles and eyes. And just imagine
horrifying.
The teeth and the eyes and everything you don't want to see in a cavern or a hallway.
Oh, that they do make a pretty dope tattoo.
Really?
I've seen some cool, it's like American traditional beholder tattoo.
Yeah. Shout out Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which was a super sick 2-player game. I think it was on the PS2. That my brothers and I used to play together. And we would be like, ah! Like beholders would appear and I would die and then Tom would rob me. It's what
Loot that body.
It's what the middle child does. Thanks, bro. So I'd just be there and he'd be like, got all your stuff. And I'm like, give it back. And he's like, no. Like,
you died. You
damn it.
You're like, come on, man.
Every time. So, yeah. D&D.
So, since my first oyster was also your pearl, will you give me another pearl? Because our first one was kind of the same one.
I want to hear another oyster.
Oyster.
Yeah, because we can just go back and forth.
Okay.
Because what if they're all the same?
I doubt the second one is.
All right. I'm bracing.
Because my mind went in so many weird places.
I need you all to fully pivot with us now. All right. This is not an episode that's going to track.
Not at all. We're going to be all over the place.
This is just for fun.
If you've made it this far, I think you know that already.
You better.
Buckle in. So, anglerfish.
That's really interesting that you went with anglerfish. All right, go for it.
Well, because I was writing down like things I had been doing random dives on recently as far as like weird things that I've been into.
Yep.
And the thing that kept coming back up was you getting scared at my haunted alarm about new facts about whales.
Oh my God. Shout out to the Hodag episode we just did about Rhinelander where I was like, your alarm is just the news. Like, you wake up to the horrors of the world, and you're like, sometimes it's good things. I'm like what? And you were like, they discovered a new whale. I'm like, a new species? And you're like, no, that's not.
No, it was something new about whale, or they found a whale in a new place. There was something happening.
See how profound the good news was? She's like, I don't know, there was a whale. I wasn't awake.
You're like, but there was also an earthquake somewhere in Japan.
I'm like, the idea of waking up to a 9.3 earthquake hit Nepal, like... What? That's what you wake up to? And I'm like,
kind of haunted way
I would just never get out of my bed. Like, it's cursed. And so
I'm going to die.
And I fully didn't hear the alarm when it first went off because I could not sleep. The bed was so soft and comfy, but I was like, ha! And kept falling out of the bed. And then I would sleep and then wake up. And then sleep and wake up. So I was like, I'll go sleep on the green couch, which was great. But then I was like, well, where is she? The alarm should have gone off.
The time is 6:45 a.m.
So I wait to see if she was awake. 54 degrees outside. And all I heard was, it is sunny. And I was like, nope. And just back
like a robot.
I was like, nope. So anglerfish.
This will go way back to like Yule
Throwback.
Episode, I believe.
Santa, because we were talking about Santa.
The Holly King.
Because
he was like a nesting doll. And then you were like inside an anglerfish.
Like when the male anglerfish attaches to the female anglerfish.
So the more I look at them too, I'm like, if we had a fish mascot.
Yeah.
Anglerfish.
Yeah. For this pot?
Just, there's different types.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Sea devils.
Yep.
Frogfish.
Yep.
Handfish.
Yeah.
Sea toads.
All those are true.
Batfishes.
Be aware.
And monkfish.
Which are terrifying.
Which are there's 200 species of them all
There's
together.
A lot. Yeah,
but they break down into those categories.
They do.
And you had said when we were talking about the holly king being absorbed by the anglerfish, I did not know about the male.
The absorption?
thing. No.
Oh,
so
it is disturbing once you realize what actually happens with anglerfish.
So, they attach
They
like
do?
a parasite, and then it's just like she'll find all the food. I'm just here to make babies. And once a female has reached sexual maturity, it may have 6 or more male partners attached to its body.
Just little
that
blobs.
are just proving a constant supply to fertilize the eggs.
Yep.
They're just bloop 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 bloop.
Yep. That's all true. Fun facts with the Goblin Squad.
The male anglerfish can remain attached by its mouth to the female's body for the rest of its life, becoming a permanent appendage, like a fish zombie. And it can lose its own ability to live as a separate fish and can lose its eyesight, thus relying on the female to hunt and provide nutrition forever.
It like, that's it, man. Once he attaches, absorbed.
And then their little lure bit.
Yeah.
Right? First,
it's just wompy.
I heard a cat. I didn't know. I figured there had to be something going on there. I guess I had never thought about it. The bioluminescent bacteria. They have a sneaky little flap on there, too. So they can be like, boop, lights out. And they'll be like,
JK.
aha!
Yep.
And they can pulse it like a rave. They can be like,
And fish are like, ooh, you've seen Finding Nemo, right?
And then you see a demon creature. A beholder.
Are you my conscience? That's, yeah. Yes.
And then there's
I
just
see a light.
a sad blind fish.
Oh, yeah.
Stuck on the side.
Just glued right on. These are all true.
And they live
This
at
is your
depths.
oyster?
Oh, yeah. Because weird things that's just where I went with oysters.
Yeah, this is good.
Weird things I found interesting that I just want to talk to you about. Yeah, real weird. And they live up to, 36,000 feet?
Very deep.
Deep.
Yeah. I don't know the depth, because I don't know the depth of the deepest deeps.
It was deeper than Mount Everest is tall.
Which?
That's where they are, which is like
so
29.
There's only one man who could possibly encounter many of them. We know who it is. Victor Vescovo! Shout out.
We'll put up an image. That blue-eyed devil.
He might have to get back into his submersible because...
Oh, yeah, they found it.
They found a potentially deeper spot.
Oh, I thought you were talking about how they found the Ocean Gate thing.
Oh, no. Remember that cursed interview. Never forget. They asked Victor Vescovo if those people that went down in the submersible to the Titanic had a chance of surviving, and his response was, they're dead.
He told him.
He knew.
What?
Yeah, he was like, oh, no, I've been down there. They're not alive.
Did you see was around it, though?
No.
Ratchet straps.
Right, because people had been asking the CEO of that submersible company, who was a member of the Explorers Club, as is Victor Vescovo, what was the refurb time? Like, how many trips can your submersible do before it needs to be completely refurbished?
Yeah,
and that man said indefinitely, which is not possible.
Is it made out of unobtainium?
Yeah, like what is it? That's not possible. It cannot. And the engineer that designed it refused to go in it and told him, I will not go in it. It needs to be fixed. Like, I designed this with you. It is not up to snuff now after all of these trips. You need to fix it. I will not go. No. And he survived because he did not go. So I feel sad for the people that went on the trip, but also in deep sea discussion, like, you made your choices, bro. Like, everyone in this field told you not to do this, right? Ratchet straps, bruv. Ratchet straps. You think you're stronger than the ocean? Nothing is stronger than the ocean, okay? Nothing.
My thing is, you're getting inside Ocean Gate. You look on the outside near the door, and there's a fucking ratchet strap, and you're like, sign me up.
To the Titanic? No. It's a no for me, dog.
Big no. Big
No.
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 But yeah, hypothetically, they may have found a deeper location in the ocean than Challenger Deep. So that would mean Victor needs to gear up because he's currently the only human who has been to all of the deepest locations in the ocean.
Because he does it by himself, right?
Oh yeah, because he won't let anybody else go in there because he wants to be in the history books.
He wants to be the dude.
And he's in the history books.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in it. He's gone to the highest mountains and the deepest parts of the ocean, except for now maybe he hasn't.
Do you think his submersibles have ratchet straps on?
Victor Vescovo's submersible. Have you seen? Insert picture. Does this man look like he's going into a submersible with a ratchet strap
put the
on?
Crazy one of him smiling like this.
Also, if you want to see a person, like the definition of homicide in someone's eyeballs, watch the special showing his attempts at doing this when he goes on his first test dive in his submersible with the engineer and it leaks and the camera's on him and it drips onto his shoulder and he just turns and is like, and Craig was like, they're gonna find that man in a plastic bag on the side of the road. Like,
they'll find him in the deep sea.
Yeah, or they'll never find him again. Victor looked like he was ready to end that man's life in that moment.
The
One drip onto Victor's shoulder of his pristine zip up. And I was like, oh God.
That man loves a windbreaker.
He does. Half zip. It's basically Peyton Manning. With less football. Had crazier eyes. Yeah, so no, this man does not use ratchet straps for anything.
No.
In fact, they don't even exist to Victor.
No. What's that? He don't know what that is.
No.
Yeah. So anglerfish. Real weird. And I think if a goblin was a fish, it would be an anglerfish.
You ever seen a goblin shark? We've talked about goblin sharks before.
Yeah, fucking great.
The deep sea.
Crazy.
The deep sea. We could have an entire episode on the deep sea because the shit that is down
weird.
there. Yeah.
Like when they get all like translucent and those weird. Have you seen in the caves where there's no light and stuff? Those weird like
they lose their
axolotls,
eyeballs.
you can see through them, and they're like.
Yep, and they have no use for their eyes, so they've lost them over millennia.
Feelings.
Yeah. And that like our inability to understand their like proprioception. What is the name of that that sensation of where you are in space? So we all have it, right? So like all creatures develop an understanding of where their body is in space, right? So that you can orient and move, and it's called proprioception. I'll insert a definition here. I can't remember what it's called. But
look it up.
The Commodore would be like, it's this. And I'm like, God damn it, you're right.
Damn you.
But we have such a lack of understanding of how like cave dwelling and deep sea dwelling animals exist and find each other. Because the reason that male anglerfish attach to the female is because it is so rare for them to encounter each other in the deep sea that when they find one, they attach, even if she's not reproductively mature. Because they might never encounter another female again. Because there's no light. None. There's no light. Zero light.
It's so wild to me because again, I'm just like weird fish facts.
I mean, and then there's the squids. We haven't even gotten into the squids.
Oh, God.
People think a giant squid.
Orca rabbit hole.
Oh, right. Also, fun fact about orcas.
They're fucking dolphins.
They are.
Sorry.
Yeah. They're not whales. They're the largest member of the dolphins.
Big dolphins.
Also, no wild orcas have ever killed a person.
Nope.
None. Captive ones have. In fact, there's one who's killed more than any. Tilikum.
I saw that motherfucker.
In real life.
In San Diego.
And I don't really blame him.
No,
it's not his fault.
Because you think about like, what is it? Solitary confinement?
Oh
People go
God.
crazy in like a week.
Cetaceans, hot take. Personal opinion. Here it comes.
Hit them with it.
Cetaceans, dolphins and whales, should not be in captivity. We don't understand how intelligent they are. And this could be an oyster for me. Animal intelligence, right? So
they have parts of their brains that we do not have.
Right. And we are so species-centric. We look at all living things and want to assign intelligence, quote unquote, based on human definition of intelligence and language and social interaction. They have dialects. They have just because it is not a human intelligence does not mean it is not intelligent. So the egocentricity of us saying, we're going to take a dolphin and put it in captivity for its entire life.
They're so smart.
And, like, the way we used to do it was so heinous. Like,
oh my God. We've all seen Blackfish.
Yeah. It's not good.
Tears.
It's not. We took their babies.
Oh my God.
And then the mothers are like crying. It's the way this episode is turning into a trauma dump about whales.
Or just D&D and whales.
Oh my God. So, yeah, that's a whole thing, right?
Oh my God. Because they're so fucking smart. And especially with just our view of it. Yeah. Just as humans. Because I started, again, similar vibe, sidebar. I started watching the Chimp Crazy.
Oh, it's on HBO. It's on HBO Max.
The Tiger King, but with chimps.
Oh, Lord. The way that lady... And we've all seen, and if you haven't, don't look it up. That lady.
Oh, yeah. No.
Who lost her face. I have had strong words with you about primates as well.
You don't mess with them.
I have strong feelings about primates. Oh. So primates in captivity, I have similar feelings about primates in captivity that I do with cetaceans. However, the reason primates, quote unquote, again, heavy with the air quotes, have to be in captivity is because of us. So we destroyed where they live, and then we're like, hey, we're going to throw you in zoos. Cool. And I know some primate keepers. Mm-hmm. So, because if you've listened for a long time, you know that I used to work in the zoo field. And so I know some primate keepers, and the relationships that they have with the primates that they take care of is not a human-animal relationship. Like, they're individuals that have preferences and desires and likes and communication skills and social hierarchies. And this is not a quote, like a dumb animal. This is not.
No.
And the idea that someone thinks it's a good thing to keep a chimp in their home.
Wild.
When a chimp. Oh, God. So, story time.
Jacked.
Story time.
Hit me with it.
A primate keeper that I knew back in the early... Well, it would have been like the 2010s, right?
Yeah. The mid-aughts.
Yeah, the mid-aughts. Was telling me a story about a chimp keeper, not in a zoo in the state where we live in, who was interacting with a chimpanzee in like the staging area, the behind the scenes, like, because in zoos there's on exhibit and off exhibit, right? And so it was off exhibit, and they were doing a training session or whatever, and the zookeeper got too close to the chimp, and the chimp was very upset, and the chimp was able to reach the keeper and snapped his arm.
No!
Just broke both of these bones, just crunch. I mean, and it was like immediate, right? So the idea that people think that they are going to be in charge, of a chimpanzee is just insane. Like, the only reason you are alive when you interact with a chimpanzee is because it is choosing not to kill you.
Yeah.
So people are so arrogant.
Oh my God.
So arrogant.
It's wild.
And some people could say that about me. And reptiles, like, why do you think you can keep that? And I'm like, well, I have my reasons, but I don't have a reptile in my house that can kill me.
No.
And I don't hate on people that have venomous snakes, but they take on the risk. Like, when you take in an animal that can kill you, you fall in usually one of two camps. You fall into the, I understand the risk that I'm taking on and I accept this responsibility. Yeah. Or you fall into the chimp crazy camp where you're like, they're my babies, and
That's
you
what she kept saying.
Put clothing on them and give them smoothies and like treat them as if they're human children. And I'm like, ma'am, you don't need a chimp. You need a therapist.
Because also, would you put your human child in a cage?
Some people do.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
It's wild.
The whole thing is wild.
Just leave the chimps alone. Leave the orcas and the dolphins
Yep.
alone. And good luck trying to get an anglerfish.
I mean, good luck.
They might cast a spell on you with their little...
They're just gonna, I see a light. You're gonna go full Dory. Go to the light. Yeah. Yeah. Anglerfish. Deep ocean is fascinating.
Yeah.
And also,
we could do a whole up on deep
vastly
ocean.
unexplored.
Isn't it like 90%?
Yeah.
Or some shit?
We don't know what's down there.
We know more about space.
We do. Actually, our immediate space we know more about than we know about the deepest part of the ocean on our planet.
That's where I think was one of my sidebar things. Anglerfish. Aliens, I think they're coming from below.
Well, speaking of space, pearl number 2. Uh-huh. So,
Transition, didn't even know it.
pearl number 2. So, in recent history, I wasn't always a space girl, right? Like, I appreciated it. It was cool. But when I was a kid, I was actually, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, terrified of space because I accidentally stumbled upon a viewing of the film Close Encounters of the Third Kind at a very young age.
As a child?
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
My dad didn't know I was there. I snuck in. It wasn't
You're
his
just
fault.
behind the seat of the couch, like...
For real. It was like where you army crawl, and then you're like, I'm going to sneak in.
You're eating the fallen popcorn.
Yeah, I'm like, he'll never know. And then I sneaked too close to the sun.
Oh, no.
And saw a scene that haunted me for years. And my shout out, Mom.
Hey.
Can attest to this. I clothespined my curtains shut because I was sure if the aliens couldn't see me, they wouldn't abduct me.
I mean...
For years.
That's
years.
hide and seek rules.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, they don't know I'm here.
you can't see me.
They don't know. The light will not shine through my window if they don't know I'm here. Fair. I was like, I'm good. I'm protected.
I get that.
So grew up scared of space. But
It
then
is scary.
yeah, and not really understanding space because I just, I was more of an animal kid, not so much a space kid.
Yeah.
And fast forward, I meet the Commodore. The Commodore, one of his self-proclaimed areas of interest is space. And the way he can rattle off stuff about space, and I'm just like, what? How do you know? And he was like, and the moon is actually getting further away. And I'm like, what is happening? And he's telling me all this stuff. So, in recent history, there was a partial lunar eclipse just last week. Mm-hmm. And it was on the full moon, supermoon, all the things, harvest moon, insert picture. Commodore
he got
took this
dope
picture,
pictures.
right? And since, becoming Lady Commodore, we have started this super fun thing where we travel for celestial events. So, like, the total solar eclipse, right? Which was, like, amazing. Like, find a spot that we can go and go to it.
And then, again, crazy pictures.
It was insane. We went to Totality, mentioned it on the pod. It was, I will never forget it. It is not. Yeah. And then while watching Totality at the solar eclipse, I was like, how many times in my life did something awesome from space happen? And I was like,
Or you were like, aliens.
Yeah. Or I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Or like, oh, I'm not going to be where it is, so I'm not going to go see it. Like, what was I doing? Go to the thing.
Do the thing.
And turn it into an event, right? Life is short. Okay? Life is short.
And also painfully long. Sorry.
That took a turn.
It's a joke from a thing.
I have no idea what's going on. What thing? What is it from?
It's a Jenna Marbles video. She's like, life is terribly, terribly short and also painfully, painfully long. Sorry. Derail.
Once again. Pretty sure Amber's going to get that shout out.
She got it.
So, before it became...
Life is short. Do the stuff.
It's fine. It's
Editing
all right.
this is going to be fun.
You're going to have a lot of work in post.
I will.
We did it to ourselves. I'll send chocolate. So, okay, celestial events, right?
Yes.
So, last year we went to Totality, solar eclipse. last week we made a point of being outside so we could watch the lunar eclipse, partial lunar eclipse. Yes. And it wasn't like a full or enough of an eclipse for like a major color change. It didn't turn into like a blood moon where it goes red because of the eclipse, which I've seen before once in my life. But we were sitting out there talking. And here's me just like, wow, binoculars, looking at the moon, fully entranced. And the Commodore sitting next to me like, it's crazy that like the moon's distance to the Earth has the exact ratio. And he's like explaining all these about, I was like, yeah. And he's just telling me these facts
sacred
about
geometry
space.
and math
yes,
of it all.
About how, like Earth is at this exact location. So the sun looks this size in the sky because the moon is this far away from the Earth. It looks the same exact size. And statistically, how improbable is that would actually occur? And then I was like, right. And if the moon wasn't that distance, the tides wouldn't be this. And then this wouldn't happen. And then this wouldn't happen. He's like, so that's amazing.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I was sitting there and I was like, oh, that means like statistically, the odds of sentient life at the level of humanity are a lot more challenging than people want to believe. Like for all of these things to line up. And then I'm going to say a thing. Okay, Gobs, and this is not meant. I'm gonna. Here's it. It's just disclaimer. Okay, it's not meant to offend. Don't take it personal. All right, this isn't about you. This is about me. This is my show with her. Okay, it's had nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with religion. But it kind of does. So here it comes.
Let's do it.
Doesn't it seem a little derivative when you look at the math and how many events had to occur in space and with elements and with objects and with gravity and with everything that occurred, that instead of finding an understanding and like seeking out knowledge, people go, it's God's plan. God did that. Sorry, Christians. And I'm like, sure. Okay. Yeah, it's cool. Good for God. But is it not? Like, if you step back and look at the enormity of the infinitesimal things that had to occur
specific tiny things
for us to be here at the exact time that we're here, the math is nuts.
It's reductionary.
And like and it's not the people that are like, God did that offend me. It's the people that are like, God, so I'm not going to learn about it. Yeah. That's what gets me. It's the people that are like, it's just the will of our Lord. And I'm like, do you understand how awesome this is? Do you get it?
We're the dark ages for sure.
It's rough.
I feel like people can or have tried to blend both more, but there are definitely people that are just kind of like, well, again, like I said, one thing did it all.
There are plenty of Christian scientists, FYI, who can do both. Okay?
Hyphenated and not hyphenated. Because then Christian scientists are their own thing.
Not those.
Different.
Not
Different.
those.
But
scientists who are Christian.
I feel like it is very, like, you're making this big, massive, huge thing so small and simplified. When you're saying, it's like, this is just the one thing that happened, so I'm never going to look into it again. We have a new moon right now.
Yeah. A little baby moon. A baby moon.
A little baby moon.
It's just going to hang out there for like a month, and then it's going to like fling back out in the darkness of space, and we're never going to see it again.
But it's like, it's so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. It feels like too simple of an answer.
It's an oversimplification, and it's like, I think the thing that gets me is that it's a thought-terminating statement. Like, because God, full stop. And I'm like, what? That's it? Yeah. And I'm not trying to hurt your feelings, because I know there are listeners to this podcast who are varieties of Christian, Catholic, God people, and I'm here for it, right? Respect. But I can't stand the termination of exploration through that like reasoning, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can't, because that reasoning also shuts down other things that you want to learn, you know? Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like, why send out another telescope to learn all of this shit when it's just, and I'm like, how can you say that?
It's kind of like saying everything's above your pay grade, basically.
Ick.
Yeah.
Ick. Ick.
Ick. Like oysters.
Which are gross.
They're like snot.
I tried them. I put lemon on it.
I had a char-grilled one in New Orleans that was good, but I'm pretty sure it's because it was loaded up with bacon and cheese, and I could barely taste.
And breading. Fried
and it was
things.
char-grilled, so it's like, it basically tastes like lobster. It wasn't bad.
So I know I'm going to get in trouble for what I just said. And that's okay. Fine. You can send me the hate mail, and I'll shoot it into space. Where it belongs. Come at me, bro. It's been a rough week here in the Red Room.
Holy fuck. I'm going to need you to hit me with another.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Here we go again.
And on that note.
Yo,
man.
What's my weakness, man?
Okay, then.
The bow-legged one.
Oh! Oh, no.
Shoot it into space.
Yeah. So, anyway,
I like that, Pearl.
To recap.
Yeah.
I'm not hating on the big G, okay? But space is amazing. And when celestial events occur, if you have the ability to, because we don't all have the ability, freedom, money, time.
Yeah.
If a meteor shower is happening where you live and you can go out and see it, do the damn thing.
Yeah.
If the northern lights appear, go outside and see them. Like, set the alarm and do it. I have never regretted. And there have been times where I've done a thing and also been simultaneously messaging you like, I'm so sick. Why am I out here?
But then you've literally been like, it was so worth it. Oh, yes. My God, it changed my life.
Because I am not naturally optimistic. I'm not. I am inherently pessimistic.
Sarah from the street.
I'm just like, this is gonna suck. You know, like, and that's my standard operating, like, defeatist mentality. And so in order to overcome that, I have to be like, okay, your initial thought, you are not your thoughts, right? Yeah. Your brain tells you you can't do the thing or you shouldn't do the thing. Your brain is full of shit. It's just hot wired to do that because you've thought that for so long.
Because sometimes your brain ain't on your side.
It didn't want me to play D&D, dude. What was it doing with that?
We would have never met Ren.
I know.
The furball.
And her horribly awkward self. Throwing halflings.
She has an army of rats.
Not yet, though. Not yet. But she will.
In the miniature.
Just wait.
She does.
So many rats.
But sometimes, yeah, you gotta push yourself.
You do.
A little bit and broaden those horizons.
Yeah.
And things. And we've talked about this a couple of times, and I was talking about it on a hike earlier today where talking about Valley Fair, where it's good to get scared.
Yeah.
Of things. Or be in awe of something.
Yeah.
Or force yourself to do something where it's like, would this be good for me? Because it's not always going to... You can force yourself to do something and you can be like, I really shouldn't have done that.
Or this sucked.
No.
Or, yeah, this was a huge pain in the ass. But then, it's not always going to be a magical time.
You won't end up questioning. And I will say, like, I watch... obviously survival shows and disaster shows and all these things. And but there's where it's like people will go on like, out into like Alaskan like bush wilderness and it's horrible. The conditions are crazy. And when they're there, I'm never doing this again. They're like hunting or surviving, whatever. And then they get home, a couple months pass. And the first thing you're like, I want to go back there.
Every time.
It's the experience, the stories, pushing yourselves
Yeah.
to do things you didn't think were possible or that scared you, whether you're an adrenaline junkie or whether you just want new experiences. Because like there's a roller coaster in Shakopee that I love going on, Steel Venom, that I forced myself to go on every time, but I got stuck on it in high school for like 40
stuck
minutes.
on Steel Venom?
150 feet in the air, like this. My legs just dangling. Ah!
I've been on Steel Venom. That would be super scary.
Horrified.
Yeah.
Because you go woo, 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 up a thing, woo, 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 woo. And it goes real fast. It's
very
scary.
fast.
But I still force myself to go on it because I feel that like fear, but then I'm just like laugh screaming on it because I'm like, I fucking did it. And whether it's forcing yourself to go out and see the stars when maybe you might be a little tired, but maybe it'll change your view on how you approach the rest of your week, or it's a D&D game.
Yeah.
You know, or it's starting a new thing that you might be afraid of. It's
the discomfort.
It's good to do.
If the voice in your head is like, that's hard, I don't want to do it because it's hard. Question that.
Yeah.
Question that voice. Don't put yourself in mortal danger.
No, not mortal peril.
Don't ignore
or sketchy situations.
Don't ignore like survival. Are you crazy?
I'm gonna camp out in a dark alley in the middle of the night. Don't do that.
Oh, I can't believe we're all alive.
How?
Survived somehow.
Yeah.
Don't know how.
The Lord.
Jesus.
Take that to space, motherfucker. That was so
I'm so sorry. Now I'm like, I was really harsh. I didn't
said it with your heart.
I didn't mean that I hate God. I didn't mean that. I just am in awe of the universe. It's all about interpretation.
And both things can exist.
Yeah.
Right?
It's okay. But also
You're like, but also take it to space.
sending it right to space. Come at me. I am my mother's daughter. Oh God.
Pinch, pinch. Stab, stab.
So we've had this conversation on the pod before. Discomfort does not equal bad.
No.
Right? So like everything worthwhile that I have done has been on the wrong side of the comfort line. Like, here's me being comfortable. And we talked about this in our goal setting episode for the new year.
Yeah.
And how I wanted to intentionally put myself in uncomfortable situations this year because every single time I did that, the amount of growth that I felt could not be measured in comfort, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I have done a few things. Like I had on my list, I wanted to do more things. And I just went back and reviewed goals because I was like, pretty soon it's time to look at those and go, oh my God, I didn't do half of that shit. Yeah. But the things I have done have been very uncomfortable. And also, don't beat yourself up if you don't handle them gracefully.
No.
Because I didn't. This summer, when I had a little trip I wanted to go on, I tried to cancel the trip. I cried constantly. I false started the cancellation and emailed my trip leaders multiple times. Was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like I tried and it was ugly and messy and embarrassing and awful. And then I still went and it was the best goddamn decision. And
You needed it.
I did. But I was so scared of it. And like, I can't do this. And who knows why.
And then on the start of it, you got that fucked up salad.
Somebody stole my DoorDash, right?
Stole it.
And I was like,
And
enjoy
then you
your
got
Brussels sprouts, bitch.
You got a shittier DoorDash as a replacement.
And then it was wrong. And then I had to go walk to the restaurant and get it myself. So it wasn't great. But
the trip was great.
it ended up being amazing. Yeah. So do not let discomfort stop you.
No.
From pursuing the things that you want to pursue. Do not let a desire for comfort derail your ideas for things that you want to do. Because if you want to go out and observe celestial events in the sky, like eclipses and meteor showers and northern lights, it's usually night. So you're going to need to be awake. And beds are warm and cozy. Set the alarm. Get the clothing out. Make a thermos of hot cocoa or something and just make a thing of it. Or if you can't and you're like, I'm just going to stumble out there in my flip-flops and my pajamas, that's fine too. All of it is valid.
But
and you can do it for Jesus if you want. Okay?
You can.
You can.
And it's worth it. And again, I feel like there's so many things we take for granted. I was sitting in the river today on a rock with my sweaty feet out of my Converse in the water because I was very hot.
It was warm.
And I'm just looking around at all these like vertical crazy shaped rocks on the river. And I'm just looking at them and I'm like, we're sitting on here and these are like millions of years old. And we just are fully like, I'm putting in 500 hours on Baldur's Gate. Like, I'm disassociating on TikTok on my phone. And there's so many things around us that, because it is Mabon today as we're recording.
Happy Mabon.
Shout out the equinox, the harvest. And it felt really good to get outside and get attuned and, ground today. The amount of trees that I hugged and sticks
I bet it felt good.
May or may not have taken from a state park.
It's fine.
Theoretically. Allegedly. Whatever.
It's fine.
We just low-key getting lost for a little bit, but then found our way. And we did like 6 or 8 miles and just to push yourself and get outside and find weird things. I took like 85 pictures of mushrooms today that I'm going to show you later and be like, is this chicken of the woods? Why is it so red? I don't know, but it's interesting. And I found a weird caterpillar that I'd never seen before too. It's very bright green.
This is very goblincore, by the
way. But it's the same thing about going outside and looking up or going outside and looking down.
Yeah, be curious.
Like, being curious and not stifling that or being afraid of it. And I think that kind of comes with all of our oyster things today. It's things we are curious about or things we have pushed ourselves about or things we're interested in and following where those little rabbit holes go. It's like, that's the flavor and spice of life.
That's very true.
That's what it is. That's what this podcast is about. As unhinged as this episode has been.
It's okay.
I love these types of episodes though, because we come in chaotic as fuck.
It really is.
Like
today.
Barely have a plan. We misunderstand. I thought you thought I was going to talk about oysters.
She panicked.
Full panicked. Spilled a cider on my iPad. And I was fucking late today. We didn't even know if we were going to record
She's
today.
never late.
And I hate being late. I hate it. And I feel like this podcast has become something that I not only look forward to, but it is something that I wasn't comfortable about or nervous about, and that I still push myself to put out there.
Yeah.
Because it's something creatively too where I'm coming out of, but I got in a rut of, I felt like I was creating things only for other people. And you ruin the magic when you do that. And I like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to continue doing it. And I like doing it with you, and you're
I
weird,
know.
and you know so many weird things.
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Fascinating.
It's really fun.
And it's just been such a joy, and it's so weird, and we can bring all this, like menagerie of weird things to talk about together to you watching and listening, and hopefully you find it interesting. But I'm like, I do. I'll watch it.
And also, because apparently I'm Sarah from the streets.
Yes.
If you don't find it interesting, I don't care.
Send it to space, motherfucker.
Send it to space. Because I don't care. I'm kind of past the point of caring. I know it sounds so mean, but like I make this for the people that get it.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means that not everything is for you, right?
It also means there's like 200,000 other podcasts you could listen to.
So many, right? You don't need to listen to it. No. And we would not be mad if you're like, oh, it ain't my flavor, right? Like,
not at all.
It's fine. And so like, it's okay. It's okay. And it's just permission to be weird as fuck.
Yeah.
And find other people who are like, I get that. I feel that in my soul.
Conversations we have had with goblins that we don't know.
Yeah.
From Adam, Steve, or Eve. Like, we don't know them in the world. And there's like, your podcast has helped me be creative again. Or
the joy.
I started the books you guys have talked about. I started reading them. Like, Amber, shout out to you, sending me eucalyptus that she found in Michigan.
I'm hitting my own headphones out of excitement.
Like, look what I found. And I was like, bitch, you better make a necklace out of it. Like, that is the type of stuff I want to celebrate. Yeah. And it's community and weirdness. And I just love it so much.
Yeah.
It's an oyster. The pearl.
The pearl.
In an oyster.
In an oyster.
Like we are. In the world. Because oysters are gross.
I'm just going to fully unplug my hand. The attempt to make this metaphor work, it will never be.
It turned into like a fucked up SAT question. I never took them. I took the MCATs.
In the world.
Well, I took the pre-test. It's a whole thing.
The SATs don't mean anything.
I didn't go. Well, I did. I dropped out of college. Shocking.
I did 3 times. It took a while.
I know. I didn't want to do ASL with a weird guy from Texas, and I was like, college ain't for me. And
it ain't for everybody.
Thing. No, it was not. So I have.
You trying to pick
random thing?
You trying to pick an oyster right now?
Do you have a pearl?
I have a pearl that we can transition to.
Give me a pearl.
Because of Amber. So shout out, Gob. Because you were like, the books that you're all reading.
Yes.
Gobs, let me tell you something. I, up until recently, was not an audiobook goblin. All right? I just couldn't get out. I was like, I read physical books. That's all I do.
Nerd.
Dweeb.
I do both.
And so then I was like, I can't fit time, right? At the time when I started reading again, because when I was a baby gob, I was a hardcore reader. I mean, not just like, that's what I did, right? That's what I did. And just devouring books, right? Like, that was my hobby. That was
escape.
Yep. And then, you know how you see those TikTok videos where they're like, to kids millennials that read books, when they were little, how's your ACOTAR face going right now? So about that.
True. About that.
All right. If you have not read books by Sarah J. Maas, you should try it.
First of all, are you living under a rock?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I was under a rock.
It's okay.
But then I was heavily influenced socially by a few gobs to do this. So I've read all of ACOTAR. We've covered this, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to give spoilers right now. We'll get there. We're in talks to do a Goblin Book Club. Wouldn't it be fun, gobs, to do like a Twitch stream?
Are on the side.
I mean, we're talking about it. We have one goblin who's beta testing this book club with us right
100%.
now. And no, that goblin is ahead of me because
she lapped you, dude.
Yeah. I think she finished Crescent City. Are you done with Crescent City?
She did.
Oh my God.
She's like 2 series and past that.
And she checks in with me. Hey, how you holding up?
How's the tandem read
Because
going?
I'm doing the Throne of Glass tandem read. And I sent her a screenshot of my checklist. She's like, you're so close. I'm so proud of you. I'm like, thank you, because I feel like I'm dying inside. All I'm going to say, without spoilers, is I just finished a little scene with a baby Rook. And the way I was driving, listening, and I was like, no! Like, oh my God.
I know you are.
No! No! No.
If there's not a better endorsement for these books.
It broke me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're not going to get put back together again.
Nope, I'm done. And the way I was sending...
It's going to continue.
I was sending Brooke voice memos like, no, like,
no.
Not that, no. And I just kept... And I was like, it's only going to get worse.
It hits you,
It's only going to get worse. So, Throne of Glass. It's a very long series. Yeah. And so I'm
8 books.
I'm in book 6, 7 right now, which
tandem
creative readers have figured out you can read in tandem because they occur at the same time, but
it's so worth
on
it.
opposite parts of the world, right? And it works great. Do the tandem read.
Because 6 ends on a huge cliffhanger, too, and then you would have to go back in time and read a slower longer book before getting to the conclusion.
The tandem read is a good idea.
It's where it's at.
Yeah. And it keeps it interesting. So you're like,
because there is crossover with it too.
And I'm starting to, you start to lose the flavor of the one book, and then you're like, oh, good. I'm switching to the other book. And after this, there's only one more book. And I have been warned that my soul will be removed from my body and stomped on viciously, and that I will be destroyed for a while.
I was just crying on my couch.
That's not good.
Joel just looked at me like, are you okay?
That's not good.
I'm like, yes, it's beautiful. It's sad and horrible and beautiful, and I love it.
I'm not ready. All right. So
it's so good.
I have been doing the audiobooks because I don't have the ability to read the way I used to.
And you consume them so much faster.
Yeah, because I can do other things. I can throw the audiobook on and use it as a reward. Like, ooh, I can listen to the audiobook while I load the dishwasher.
Yeah.
And it's good because then you can do fun things and not fun things at the same time. And I would highly recommend it. I mean,
hell yeah.
I would do it. And then if you want to buy the books as trophies afterwards.
That's what I do.
Do it. Buy them, put them on, and then you can learn how to spell the names. Because on one hand, you're superior because you know how to pronounce the names. Chol. But you don't know how to spell them.
I look that up on the wiki of the book while I'm listening.
Yeah. And so then you're like, who is that? Oh.
Yeah. You're like, there's an X in there?
Yeah.
I did that with Fourth Wing, where his name is Zayden. And I was like, it starts with a Z. No, it doesn't. X.
Yeah.
Zayden.
I'm hungry,
I heard
apparently.
it.
Shout out to the physical copy of Fourth Wing that's downstairs that the Commodore got for me at our new local independent bookstore. Shout out Fox and Fireflies.
I will say it is nice, too, because I get really sleepy when I read textile books. So sometimes it is nice to have both.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
Because then I'll listen to audiobook and then read from where I left off. I'll turn the audiobook off.
Oh,
and then as I'm going to bed, I'll switch to textile.
Oh.
And then just hop back on to the next. Make sure you're at the end of a chapter.
Yeah.
Just hop back on. Because then I'll get really sleepy.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Because then it doesn't, you can just play into the ether while you're falling asleep. Even if you set a timer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, as my last pearl, these books that I never would have read because I'm oppositionally defiant. So.
But you love them.
So much.
And Nesta changed your life.
Oh my God. Nesta. Oh, Nesta Archeron. I love Nesta. I'm a Nesta girl. It's just the way
Valkyrie.
It is. So if you haven't read and you're like, who the fuck is Nesta Archeron? Let me tell you right now. You should read them. Also, they're entry level smutty. So if you loved yourself some Nora Roberts back in the day, or those romance books that had Fabio on the cover or whatever, read these because they're better. No shade on Miss Nora or whatever, but
I'll put a little shade there.
Shade.
I have to revisit her. I have her in such a bubble in my mind because of that one fucking book where I'm like, you suck. Go into space.
Right into space. Stratosphere.
I'll revisit it.
So these books are good. There is some smut, but not like heinous smut where you're like, whoa.
Especially not in Throne of Glass.
Throne of Glass.
Daily.
Until the most recent book, there was none. I mean, we're talking 5 books.
She started writing them in high school.
So she was 17 or something, right?
What is smut?
Yeah, which I would have been concerned for her.
Right,
and
girl,
be like,
what's happening?
Girl, why are you writing that at 17 years old? So, but by the time you get to the smutty part of the book, you're like, woo! You're like,
especially if you read ACOTAR first.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're like, what's happening?
And I will say, do you remember how I felt when I first started Throne of Glass? Where I was like, oh my God. It's slogging through after ACOTAR, which is book crack. And you cannot stop reading it.
I have to consume everything. I read all those in less than a week.
And the way Craig was like, are you ever coming out of this book hole? Where have you been for 4 days? I'm like, I am in the spring court. Okay? Leave me alone. I'm moving to Valaris in the Night Court. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm in the House of Wind.
Yep. It's
Leave me
alive.
It's talking to me.
So, like, Throne of Glass was a totally different deal. Mm-hmm. And a slow burn, right? Where you're like, come on.
But it's worth it.
But now, oh my God.
You're into it.
Oh my God.
You're into it.
So into it. Oh, and I don't want it to be over.
No.
But it's going to be pretty soon.
Yep.
So, but it's a pearl. Because
It is
it's
a pearl.
beautiful. And whenever you're like, the news is awful, and you woke up to an alarm that tells you there's an earthquake in Nepal, you can just put on a book go to Terracid, and you can just be like, oh, the mountains and the pure air, where there's never any earthquakes.
It's great. Big ups on the audiobooks.
Yeah, hardcore.
And I did recently become a Kindle girl as well, because you can put fan fiction on there.
And there's that.
And
I'm telling you, Goblin Squad Book Club.
Reread Manacled on my Kindle. And I will say, completely different experience than the audiobook, because the audiobook for that is free and narrated by like 12 different people.
Which is weird.
It is weird.
It would be
Still
very jarring.
Sobbed and loved it. Mm-hmm. But reading it hurts so much more.
Oh.
I was like, no. But you can put just endless amounts of free fan fiction on your Kindle,
which is a game changer.
And the battery lasts forever. It's so nice.
And then you can get Kindle swag and decorate your Kindle and a little Kindle sleeve.
Oh, shout out. Mm-hmm. Marnie, shout out, our friend, sent me a pouch you can put your Kindle in. Mm-hmm. That it was this is the skin of a Kindle, Bella.
Oh my God, no.
And it was Edward, but in like a little pouch. And I was like, I have to make that.
This is the skin of a Kindle.
And that's where you put it.
Oh my God. Marnie.
It's so good.
Oh,
I love it.
It'll never be bad.
And like a few other gobs have reached out to us, if you've read ACOTAR or you're starting to read it and you're like, I want that step up. I got book recs for days.
This one.
I got her to read that spicy finish.
Which I've heard is real spicy.
Come on, Tuoni, my guy. God of the underworld. Yeah, that's gonna give me about a 4 or 5 chili peppers.
That's a lot of peppers.
Yeah. But the story is still so good.
That's a big jump. Don't entry level that finish
I wouldn't
book.
Start with.
You're gonna scare yourself.
Yeah,
ease into
I
it.
have ones in between that, and I think as you get through the Moss books and as you get into Crescent City, I definitely think we should do some type of Twitch stream.
We absolutely
should. Book club. So if you are interested in that, let us know.
Please do.
Because we would love to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 5 of us sitting in a chat room like...
No, I don't care. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
The way I'd be like, I have candy. Let's talk about these books.
We have snacks.
Yeah.
Because there's so many theories surrounding them, and then there's so many little like branch off series.
The way I send her hypotheses, I'm like, oh yeah, why does that mountain not have any trees on it? Like,
and I have to
she just
resist.
sends me selfies of her eyes like,
something's gonna happen. You're just like, but why did this person say this? I'm like, oh my God, man. I will say, you are putting things together in a way where I'm like, oh, you're going to get it right away when something's going to happen. And
I can feel something just happened that I don't like, that I cannot spoil.
Yeah, no. So
let me tell you what, don't hang out and talk to very large spiders, okay? That is a general fantasy rule. It's true in Lord of the Rings, okay? It's true in the Mass universe. If spiders start talking, it's true in Harry Potter. You get them talking, but eventually
follow the spiders.
They're gonna try. Why couldn't it be follow the butterfly? Beautiful butterflies.
You just went full of bugs.
I mean, you always have to. You have to. So yeah, shout out to the Karen Kui, aka the Stygian spiders. Yeah. It's not good.
It's not.
It's not good. Oh God, big spiders.
You will enjoy that last book. And if any of y'all have ever read it, just let us know if you want to get in the book club.
Please
Because
do.
I have things, you have things we want to talk about.
I need to talk to people.
In the Moss universe, Armand Trout, like I want to get into all the things. Because once you get through this and you get to Crescent City, and then we're going to... There's so many things to talk about. But yeah, I love these types of episodes.
And it may seem weird and random, and it is.
It absolutely is.
But also,
that's what life is.
The Goblin Squad is just kind of cooking, right? Like, sometimes when you go through... When I was on my trip in New Mexico this last summer, we had a big discussion about fallow periods and how you cannot be expected to create all of the time. Nothing does that. That's just not a thing. And that fallow periods in which you let something rest or you let something go or you intentionally let it go fallow, like a field, are rejuvenative and required to bring that creativity back.
Yeah.
And like when we had our episode, we were having our like honest conversation about how difficult it was when we were like, it's just, sometimes it just doesn't work and it doesn't click.
Yeah.
And then when we come back, there is kind of a like generative process of like putting pieces and moving things together because we're not the same people we were when we started this podcast. So the same formula we use then is not going to work. No. And so there might be some time in between here where you're like, what the hell are they talking about? And that's okay. Yeah. Again, it's like the point of the podcast is not to create a formulaic thing. There are podcasts that do that, and I love them, and I love listening to them. But we aren't making this that way.
No.
Not right now. Does that mean in the future we might change our mind? Yeah.
Right.
That's the right of the artist, right?
It's a goblin's prerogative.
It is. We will have to post the Brennan Lee Mulligan.
Oh, yeah. The chivalry code of goblin chivalry. I don't have it.
Goblin code.
But I will because I've been wanting to make it into a meme.
Yep. And so that is who we are. That code is pretty spot on.
Rumpus and ruin.
Send it to the moon.
Yes.
It's right everything. To space. Goblins in space. That's another whole RPG we could start.
If you have anything you'd like to say about it, send it to space.
Send it to space because I don't want to hear it.
Full Sam Jackson.
That meme.
Oh God, how I can think about it, even just close us out. Have you read The War of Art? Have you ever read that book? Mm-mm. Highly recommend. I keep extra copies of it in my house to give to people. I will give you one.
Amazing.
One of them may or may not be highlighted, but you can have
it's fine.
Things I found inspirational. But one of the big things to keep the creative process going that they talk about in that book is showing up.
Yeah.
Making time to present yourself to the muses, basically, where it's like,
I love
even if the end result being you didn't create or do anything, you made time and space for your art, which I think this, to whatever extent, is a creative, artistic thing that we do together.
It is. Yep.
So I'm like, even if as we grow and, get back on our little baby deer feet after taking a break, we're showing up.
It's actually the longest running collaborative effort I've ever done in my life.
Same. And also, I love it.
I do too.
Yeah. Because we can talk about fish and D&D.
Anglerfish. Dungeons and Dragons. Victor Vescovo. Celestial events.
Own chimps.
The war of God versus nature. Chimps versus humanity. And Sarah J. Maas. Yeah. All in one episode. For you. In a nice little bubble.
A goblin stew.
It actually is.
A jambalaya, if you will.
The weirdest jambalaya.
Filled with oysters.
Filled with oysters. And on that note, goblins, forever and always, you know what to do.
You know what to do. You gotta stay weird.
Stay weird.
Bye.
Bye.